YouTube, it's VidHead85. Can we talk for a minute? Excellent. Have you ever seen a movie that was a sequel and thought, maybe if this wasn't attached to another film, this actually might be good on its own? Well, today we're going over my top 10 list of sequels that may have been better as standalone films. My criteria is that most of these that have received negative or mixed reviews upon its release. Now, I do have an exception for 2 films. However, had it not had that connection, it might have been better received. So, I'm going to kick off number 10 with RoboCop 2. RoboCop 2 scraps everything from the previous film, including RoboCop. Well, he does get taken apart and dismantled by Kane, who is the new drug dealer who sells Nuke in the city. We're also introduced to a kid killer named Hobb, who actually takes over and is pretty brutal. Now, some criticize casting a kid in this movie as a villain, but there's a scene where a Little League team is led by their coach to robbing a store and beating up an old man. Kane is killed in action, but he is up for RoboCop 2. The other ones having killed themselves. What made Murphy so special? Well, Robo is now more machine than ever, and it's a horrible reversal for the first film, until he has to go fight Robo-Kane. Lewis and Murphy's relationship is wasted as well. If you haven't seen the first film, you'd actually be wowed by the greatness of this film. However, as a follow-up to the original, it is a complete letdown. Let's go to number 9, Grease 2, 1982. Frenchie, Mrs. McGee, and Blanche and the coach, played by Sid Caesar, are back in the sequel where Maxfield Caulfield replaces his Australian cousin Sandy as Michael, and Michelle Pfeiffer replaced Danny Zuko as Stephanie Zanoni. The gender swap charade is even more contrived in this film, as all it takes to turn Caulfield from a milquetoast English gentleman into a cool writer is a charade behind some helmet and goggles. Some other additional cast members are a line of new T-Birds who were lovable buffoons in the first film, are now just goons while their leader was just aimless. And the Pink Ladies in this film actually, I believe, do hold their own with the first film's Pink Ladies while having their own unique personalities. There's also a set of twins here that I loved in the film, and I really wished I would have been able to see them in other films. Michelle Pfeiffer's performance was the one thing in the film that really got a lot of people's attention, which was her first starring film. Another thing that was praised was that the film put dance numbers in interesting places, like a bowling alley and a bomb shelter. Bowling alley was scored at night, and bomb shelter was do it for our country. If this had been another film, it might have been looked at with fresher eyes. Number 8. Staying Alive, 1983. I recently watched this and found it to be a great progression from the twerp dancer we saw on Saturday Night Fever. However, it was a coming-of-age tale about a rough-and-tumble boy. This time around, he's a man who has a lot to prove. This is somewhat a coming-of-age tale for a man. So, he's not the same stuck-up kid from Brooklyn with a chip on his shoulder. He goes to his on and off again girlfriend, friends with benefits performance and becomes enthralled with a British dancer played by Fiona Lewis, and forgets Jackie's even on stage at that moment. After a passionate night, he realizes that she used him by saying, "Everyone uses everybody." This is a different coming-of-age tale where someone comes into their own on a bigger scale than just a disco. By the end, he's grown enough to value Jackie, the woman that he grows jealous over. Number 7. Dumb and Dumber, When Harry Met Lloyd. Now, this was the pits, especially if you had seen the first one. First one had a bit of a plot, was funny, and while it had its lowbrow humor, it did it with gusto and flair, went big, didn't fall flat. If this was the first film in the franchise, it still would have been a sucky film, but maybe Stoners and Idiots would have turned it into a cult film. Okay, maybe I'm a little stretching it on the idiots part. The other part of this is it's a prequel, sequel, and it's an origin story. They tend to be difficult to pull off, or they fall flat pretty quickly. Let's go to number 6. Friday the 13th, Part 3, 1983. Like the second one, it shows you a glimpse of the ending of the previous films, which gives you, while giving you a fresh start. However, what I like about this film is that the hero, or heroine in this case, gives Jason hell before she kills him, as well as departing from the open up the camp again cliche that we saw in the first 2 films. Why I think this is a great standalone film is that we have new characters, one with a tie to the land, and some of the best kills in the franchise, which may get me some lost subscribers. But one piece of this movie remains in every single movie after this one. That hockey mask. Let's take a look at number 5, shall we? The Matrix Reloaded, 2003. Matrix Reloaded follows Neo off off on his quest to be the one and save Zion from the machines, which we spent most of the third movie watching. Now, this movie mesmerized us, and the second one I feel would be a great standalone film because it successfully elevated the drama. And my most noteworthy scene, the freeway scene, was amazing. Having recast the operator, added Jada Pinkett Smith while taking us into the inner workings of Zion, it was a great setting up for the climax of the third one, which shat all over the franchise with its philosophical preachiness. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is Godfather III. Say what you will about this film, it was the one that wrapped up the franchise and was the most panned of the series. Michael Corleone is an aging Don that's up against time trying to go legit by embracing corporate America while dealing with his past ways. Most of his criminal rivals are dead or relegated to the background, and it becomes a tale of Michael trying to redeem himself the best way that he knows how. Notable scene is the helicopter shooting scene where the table rumbles, which was ripped off by Star Trek Into Darkness. If this were part of any other mobster film, it would show the fall of a once powerful man, and it does with such greatness. However, with minds on the prequel sequel that is Godfather II, it had an uneasy landing amongst critics and viewers alike. My grandmother, spoiler, was pissed off that Michael died alone after all he had sacrificed for his family. Number 3. Short Circuit 2, 1986. Number 5 survived dismemberment in Short Circuit, took a name for himself, Johnny Five, and was sent to the big city to help Ben Javeri. Javeri is studying to be a naturalized citizen and is relying on Johnny Five to make little fives to sell to a large retail chain. In the midst of it is a planned heist and a love interest, Sandy Benettoni, for Ben Javeri. Actually, number 5 did not survive dismemberment. He actually built a decoy so that they blew that up instead of him. However, in this one, he goes from the country to the big city, and he has a lot to learn, and while also foiling the heist that he unwittingly helped along. This movie is, in fact, Siskel and Ebert said was better than the first one, and I happen to agree. Standalone film number 2. Big Mama's House 2, 2008. When a program is being created to lay the secrets of the U.S. Armed Forces and government bare, Big Mama goes undercover for the Fuller family with hilarious results. Big Mama isn't as real a person in this film because of her Georgia past is somewhat behind her, but she goes undercover as a nanny while trying to crack this case. While this is another entry in the movie about a fat black woman that's really a skinny man in a fat suit and drag, this is a standalone film I believe might have been better received. In fact, I hardly watch the first one anymore, though one part would not have been possible without the first film. Now for some honorable mentions. Evan Almighty, Aliens, Bad Boys 2, and Lethal Weapon 2. And for our number 1 and top pick on the list is Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. Dolores is back and she's trying to save St. Francis from being closed in this Back to the Convent comedy. Mother Superior sends the sisters to crash her performance in Vegas and asks her back, knowing that her street-smart, wisecracking personality can help her with some of the rough, around-the-edges students. Featuring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Lauryn Hill, Sheryl Lee Raff, and James Coburn, with many returning to reprise their roles. This one is built on the familiar Let's Do It Again, but with a different audience. With the talented students and a gospel 90s flavor, they did it again. While not as successful commercially as the first film, this one was played forever and a day alongside the first one and is most likely the better recognized of the two. So, that is why this film is placed as number 1 on my list. So do you have any other of your top 10s? Which one did I miss? Thank you for watching my debut of top 10s, and for some others, check out WatchMojo.com channel, who actually inspired me to do this. So if you like their lists, also subscribe. I will continue doing so, top 10s from time to time, so keep checking back with me. See you later. Thanks for letting me talk to you.